All right, welcome everyone. Hello and welcome to Empower Your Career Live Talk, brought to you by Empowerment and Empower Amsterdam, a social enterprise that helps professionals develop in their careers, whether they are employed or unemployed. This live talk, Empower Your Career, meets twice a month to discuss different ways to develop in your career, from starting your own business to getting promotions at work or even getting back into the workforce. This month's theme is the new norm, and today we're going to discuss personal branding. My name is Clarissa Frank. I'm an impact coach for mixed race women wanting to connect to their impact and purpose, and I'm also a volunteer career coach for Empower Amsterdam. I'll be your moderator tonight, and I'm interested in this topic because actually the work I do now is completely different than what I did at the beginning of the year. So I've personally gone through some changes in my own branding, and as a volunteer coach for Empower, many of my clients that I work with and coach are trying to start over here in the Netherlands, and sometimes that involves building up a personal brand in a new country or even a new job or industry. So I want to learn how to better help them do that. If you're watching us live, please feel free to leave your comments in the chat or if you have any questions, and I'll try to get to them during our conversation with the speakers. But for now, let me introduce you to our speakers for tonight. So we have, let me just see over here, Swati Narwal. She's a global category purchaser, professional services. We have Rosa Jung, an ops manager at Picnic, and Ruchika Mara, sorry if I said that wrong, founder of Bridging the Gap. Hello, welcome all of you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And yeah, so excited to start off our conversation. So what I'd love to kind of kick off our conversation is like, how would you describe your personal brand? And anyone who would like to start can start.
Oh, nope. Okay, I can start. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, there you go. Hi, Rosa. Yes.
Oh, Swati,
Oh,
I
no,
think.
Swati. Sorry, I didn't
Yes.
video. Swati, go ahead.
So for me, personal branding means the personal connection with the people I want to actually connect with. How do I want to see myself, and how do I want the world to see me? Who do I want to see me as in my own branding? Who do I want to associate them to associate me with? So it's the story, it's the whole complete narrative that I have behind me, with all the experiences and learnings all through the years from different countries, different cultures, and what has shaped me into the woman as of today. So for me, that is my personal branding.
Okay, I love that. I love that. How about Rosa?
Yeah, I would honestly 100% agree with you. I think it is really about the journeys that we've been through to lead us to where we are now, and the kind of career vision and goals that we have set for ourselves, despite the fact that it might change and it probably will change, and how we see our personal branding and our personal growth shaping the way that we will become. Versus what will actually happen and how we align that, whether it's for the better or worse. Because I would say that when you're just graduating from school or from university, you have one vision, and then currently looking back, is that what you envisioned? One, two, is that actually what you wanted? But three, ultimately today, are you happy about it or are you not? And what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, thank you so much. And Ritika. Oh, you're a little bit softer right now. No, I can't really hear you. I think the other microphone was better, actually. Unfortunately, yeah. No worries. No, I don't think so either. Unfortunately, yeah, I think it has to be the white microphone.
Okay, this should be Can you guys hear me?
There we go. That's awesome.
Right,
yeah,
cool.
that sounds good.
Perfect. So thanks for having me on. And I think what both Swati and Rosa said, it entails everything that we think about personal branding. Personal branding is who you see yourself as and who you want to be. It's your own confidence and it's your own strong belief. But exactly what Rosa said is that you keep evolving and you have to move on with times, and who you are 10 years ago doesn't necessarily define who you are today. You keep learning from it and you keep upgrading, let's say, yourself. But it could also be that you want to move away from certain stereotypes or habits, or just adapting to your current environment. And I think that's so important as well. But most of all, you need to be comfortable and confident in your own skin, and in the skill sets that you have, and be that independent. I don't only say woman, but just that person that you want to be.
Yeah. So what
your
is
own
your
identity?
Current... No, go ahead. Yeah. No, so what is your, like, for all of you, what does your current evolution look like? What is your current, like, evolved brand that you're owning right now?
So, I would say that kind of going back to university, I really had no idea. I was one of those, you study what you think you like, and then you see what's out there after university. And for me, that became operations, and it's definitely not what I envisioned myself going into. And then fast forward a few years, because that's kind of where I started, and it's my forte. And as a result, I've built a career out of it. I feel not that I'm stuck, but it solidifies who I am, and it makes the career jumps easier. So it's kind of, is that where I am now? Is that where I'm happy? Is that where I see my career path going towards? And it's a half-half. It's also, at the same time, I'm still trying to figure out what it is that I want to do. But at the same time, because I'm learning so much, I feel like it's definitely the right path for me. But how do I then take that and leverage it for my next jump? So previously when we were talking, Swati, you said that you have worn different hats. Same with you, Ritika. So for me, that's kind of where I want to be next, trying the different things, which I feel like I have during my university days, during internship, because it was so much easier. But as we progress with our career, it does become, well, it seems harder to jump because you don't want to start from the beginning again. So at what point do you try to solidify your personal brand through your career or through personal development of your own?
I think I completely agree with you, Rosa, on that one. For me, it has been branding or rebranding every couple of years or so. So I grew up in India, and it was like either engineering or you be a doctor. So I chose like, okay, engineering it is, but without putting so much thought into it. So it changed when I actually got that education, and then I said, maybe I do not want to be in IT industry. Maybe I want to be with people. So, okay, let's do human resources and MBA. Okay, that's good. Worked on that. Then the country change happened, and suddenly I'm here in Sweden without any job. So I have to rebrand again myself, that do I want to go back into IT or HR, or do I just take the opportunity, whatever comes my way, and build my path from there? So just get one entry point at whichever level. So I started teaching Indian dance to kids as well in a very small town in Sweden. So that became a thing. So I would try to find different ways. Then I got into the localization industry, which is conveying your message from English to the rest of the languages. And growing up in India, we have 22 official languages. This is generally not the career path that I thought of when I was growing up. But then I was here at IKEA, and then we had to, like, okay, 51 languages. We need to make sure that all the content that we are producing has to be translated and localized as per the local market days. So I started to build my career around that, 6 years in that. And now I'm into procurement, where I'm focusing on the leadership, learning, development, future of work, upskilling, reskilling coworkers. So what I have seen all through the different paths which I have taken is that there's always been a red thread of learning all through, and just rediscovering yourself. What are your strengths, and the leadership, and constantly growing yourself, and not thinking that, okay, this is what I studied, this is what I want want, or this is what my parents wanted me to be, but where can I learn and base on top of that? So you can never go back to what you were doing 10 years, 15 years ago, but you're constantly evolving. So branding is happening every moment, actually.
Yeah, and both of you bring up something interesting of like, what if you like doing a lot of different things and aren't sure how to like talk about all those things at once. I know, Ritika, you're also in that same spot, right? So doing a bunch of different things.
I think it's very interesting what Swati said, because what happened was I graduated from university in 2008, and that's when the financial crash just happened. So I'm a fresh graduate, and in fact, I had every aspiration and even contracts to start my career as a private banker. And then from one day to the next, my life turned upside down because those contracts were taken away. And I relocated back to the Netherlands. And then, you're kind of set on a back foot because you're just struggling to find a job. And especially at that time, if any of you guys remember that they were looking for people who were fresh graduates, but had like 5 years work experience but wanted to pay you like an intern. Like it was like ridiculous amounts, like and these vacancies, these details that they wanted from you. So everyone from my year was just kind of scraping through whatever job you could get, which then you were thrown into the deep end. And what's happened now, because I've had that, and in one way I'm grateful for that opportunity, is that I've done so many different roles. As I mentioned, I was an HR assistant in my international school where I went to school at. Right. And then I went to the flower packaging company where I was doing sales and marketing for them and like admin, but I was also doing logistics all of a sudden. Then I went into like, cloud storage, and I went into the legal sector of business development, and then compliance within a bank. And now I'm in data, doing portfolio management over there. And every time I got hired, I was like, why are these people hiring me for this role? Like, imagine being hired for a bank for compliance. And I'm like, I don't have a compliance background. Why are you hiring me for this? And then slowly I realized it's because I worked in all these different departments and industries. I understood that 360 degree view of how a business, how work, and how operations are managed. I'm not looking in just my silo. I'm thinking, oh, this is what I need to produce. And this later on in, like, let's say the timeline, this is who it's going to impact. And these are the stakeholders I need to get involved with. And I have to adapt my communication, how I communicate to the business versus IT. And so then you're always wearing different hats. And that's the key, is trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes. At least that's what I do, because I'm like, I need you to do my work, or, let's say contribute towards to my deliverable. So instead of me being stuck on, no, you need to fill in this Excel like this. Okay, if you don't want that, that's fine. How do you need something delivered to you?
Yeah, what I love is like a lot of us, like myself included, it sounds like we've all worn like different hats and and done different roles. And what I'm curious is like, how do you talk about that, especially and even more so now with everything that's going on? I think people have had to take on different roles because, some people have been cut, or they've had to take on more responsibility, or, they've lost work, whatever it might be. Like, how do you talk about like, this question here? Like a lot of the clients I talk to, they're scared to start talking about these new things that they're doing, these new hats that they're wearing. So what advice do you have for them?
Well, if I could speak, my advice to them is, well, first of all, like, of course, be confident. If that's the route that you want to take, it's very important to engage with experts in that area, learn about it. I'm not saying that you have to be an expert within the next 3 months, but take that opportunity. If it arises, if you see a job opening, or you can speak out, the answer is a no until it's a yes. So you've got essentially nothing to lose. You've got to grab the chance where you see it. And it's a first step somewhere, right? Like in 100 no's, there's going to be a yes somewhere. And it may not be the ideal first step, but it's a first stepping stone somewhere.
I totally agree. I think when I moved to Sweden, it took me 9 months and innumerable number of rejections, which I have never had before in my life, which gave me the opportunity to realize that this is a process, and you cannot just sit and say, okay, I'm going to only do this job. So sometimes I was sent this mail of rejection saying, you're overqualified. I said, I'm ready to do this job. So what's your problem and why aren't you hiring me? But this is so much with the mindset as well, that we need to be more open to change. And I think COVID has kind of shaken everybody up, even the companies, not just humans. Or not just people around, but companies who were thinking, okay, remote working is not possible. Suddenly, in 2 weeks' time, everybody is working remotely. So that's the kind of mind shift and speed we need. But do we need a natural calamity to stir things up, or can we do that ourselves? So that's a question when we need to ask to the person you are coaching, or to yourself, if you are doing that, self-reflection in your life's journey. So just rebooting your operating system every time.
I love that, the whole rebooting, because I think that's so true. For me personally, I remember when I was trying to find a summer internship in fashion, and for interns, they don't even pay you. So the only intern you can be is if you live at home and eat your parents' food. And I think I sent about 50 applications, and all it takes is one yes. Exactly like you said, Ritika. That's all it takes, but it takes 49 rejections, and every time it doesn't get easier. So I would say that I'm sure a lot of people, whether they're listening or watching later, rejections are always hard, and I don't think it ever gets easier, no matter how many you've gone through, how long it's been. So yeah, I guess don't be afraid. For me as well, I was looking for a job during the pandemic, and I actually quit my job the week before lockdown started back in London. And so basically I was like, okay, well, that's it. I'm doomed. I've quit, and now I don't have a job, and I'm trying to get to Amsterdam. How is this even going to happen? And then you just panic apply. But then after a while, you're like, okay, remember, you've done this. Just be ready for the rejections. But all it takes is one yes. And so, yeah, perseverance is key. And it seems like we've all worn different hats. And really so what I did when I went back into operations within a warehouse, it was very kind of going back in full circle. But at the same time, I was very wary about the fact that I was more in project management as opposed to purely on the shop floor. So I think I tried to leverage what I had that they might not have necessarily have seen at that point as something important, but then kind of own up to it. Kind of fake it till you make it, but at the same time, just own up to what you don't know. Because I think that transparency is really key. And that is the beginning for everyone, because they want to help you, but they don't know what to help you unless you say so. So it's that balancing act, but I think everyone will get there at some point.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of good nuggets in all this. And what I'm curious is, like, all of you seem so brave and, like, fearless almost when you talk about this. So, like, yeah, what I'm curious about is, when you've had to face that rejection, what did you do to, like, when you had that no, how did you, like, get the strength to, like, go back and get, like, the next one?
I asked why. I just asked, okay, a rejection is hard, exactly what Rosa said. It's just, it doesn't get better each time. But I was like, okay, you've said no, but I want to know why. What wasn't fitting, or what is it that I could do to improve? And sometimes the feedback that you get is just, like Swati said, you're overqualified, or it's just like there was a better candidate there. And that's life. I understand that. But sometimes you will get some kind of feedback saying, well, we were missing a certain kind of certification, or we were lacking that experience, or we couldn't see it on your CV, and you just think, oh, I need to highlight this more. So you have to dare to ask that question and continue asking it.
And what I did when I got rejection mails, that I wrote back to the HR and said that, but I'm interested in this. What happened? And that action actually made them remember my name. And the next time something similar opened up, which was in line with what I was looking for, they gave me a call. So it's just taking an extra step thinking out of the box a little bit. I mean, in this case, it's not out of the box, but out of 100 applicants, how many of them would have written back and asked? So you are in the 5 to 10% of the people who would actually question, or maybe sometimes just curious. I was curious that what are you guys actually looking for? Or these are my skills. And one time I just handed out my CV to the reception of a couple of offices that were around. So it's just doing these simple steps.
And I think for me, I love how productive you guys are. But for me, when I got a rejection, I was like, well, screw you guys. I think I would have been excellent at it, kind of thing. And I'd be like, well, let me just prove to you with that next thing. And the next thing would be another no. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's not meant to be. And sometimes it just wasn't meant to be. I think, of course, there is so much that you can put in, but it also much aligns, I believe anyway, with right place at the right time. Sometimes it just happens to be. So for this role that I have with Picnic, as an ops manager, it's both strategy as well as implementation. And it perfectly sums up all my past experiences into one, which is why it was almost kind of fate that this appeared at this exact time for me. But for all the other rejections, I think sometimes you apply for a job when you're desperate, and you apply for so many just because. And these days with LinkedIn, it makes it so much easier with easy apply. You just apply, and you feel good because you feel like you've applied to all these jobs. So one of them's bound to come and say yes. But really, after that, then you get all these rejections because it wasn't necessarily the right fit, or it's kind of like an interview always goes two ways. You know, you need to want the job, but they need to feel that kind of enthusiasm from you. And sometimes them saying no is almost like a blessing in disguise. And sometimes when you're feeling so down, so rejected and everything, just that is the kind of only comfort that you have in knowing, okay, maybe it just wasn't meant to be, just sweep it under the carpet. Yeah, it wasn't going to suit me anyway. I wouldn't have liked the people or something like that. Just kind of get over it, and then just wait a bit, and then they'll be like, oh, we'd like to invite you for an interview. And you're like, I did it.
There was a question which was on the screen asking like what could be that one tip. So this is what I have utilized in the past, that during interviews, if I have been rejected afterwards, I've connected to those interviewers on LinkedIn later on and asked them like what happened and why, or what are the other things that they're looking for. So that became more intimate personal connection. Like I said before, for me, personal branding is personal connection. So this is one tip that you can do if you're getting rejected. Of course, don't stalk people, but be nice and polite and connect. And if you're genuine, if you have good intentions, I think people really, really appreciate that effort.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, because that's what I was kind of going to ask next, is like, personal branding equals personal connection. And so there, you've all given some tips of like how, you can reach out after an interview, or if when you're applying and stuff, but like, how can you actually like actively show your brand, your knowledge, who you are? What advice do you have around that?
I think LinkedIn is a really great tool for that. I mean, if you see something, an article or a demo come by, do share it and give your personal opinion on it as well, because you're just sharing your knowledge. That always helps as well, because recruiters do check your LinkedIn. I can't say about other social media platforms, but LinkedIn is officially that professional platform in which they can find it, and that's your place. I would say take it as your place to shine. Doesn't mean that you'll be posting every like 10 minutes, of course not, but if you see something that genuinely catches your eye, post on it, give your opinion, try and get into a discussion with someone. I don't mean an argument, but a discussion, so even the recruiter or others can see that, okay, well, you're listening to someone else's opinion as well, and who knows, maybe you also take something back from it. And that's your moment to connect. And who knows, from that connection, it could always lead to another conversation. And, it could be a recommendation for an opening. Who knows?
Very simple things that I have done is follow and like those people that really inspire me on LinkedIn. So whenever they post something, a new article, then I engage in the conversation. So that could be one way of reaching out to the community and people you are really, really impressed or they inspire you and motivate you, and you can learn from them as well. Sometimes I've written to people to actually mentor me. And when I was starting in a completely new industry, I have just searched for the names of or the titles that I was looking for and sent friend request, like connection request, connection request, asking if they can be open, if they can be open to any discussion, like 30 minutes chat. And then later on, I met them in some conferences for the same localization topics. So it became started from LinkedIn and then moved on to more physical connections. From there are so many different opportunities that opened up. So it's like very small things you can do, engage in positive discussions, like Ritika said, but just be genuine and authentic.
Yeah, so it's like a blend. Sorry, the blend from you two is like showing your knowledge by sharing these articles, these things, and then also, yeah, like making the personal connections to like show that you have this network of people. Rosa, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think both are literally perfect because I agree with both of you. I think LinkedIn really is, especially in these times where everyone's super well connected and everything being online, for sure it is kind of that gateway to information. And for all the job searches that I've done, I've always looked at, okay, if I'm interested in this position or this company, I would try and trace either people who work at that specific company or other people who might have worked in different companies, but of that position, being like, how did you get to where you got to? What other experiences have you done? How is it similar? How is it different? And if it is different, is that for the better? Is that for the worse? Does it mean the mine's too different, that I don't have enough experience? Or does it mean that I'll bring something new? And I mean, it's not stalking, but it's kind of glancing in a professional way. And I've definitely have reached out to people being like, hey, I'm interested in either working for the same company or for a similar position. I just love a chat about how you get there. And it's not always a good success rate, but having been in that position for a long time myself, when I get those requests on the flip side these days, I'm always willing, even if it's a 5-10 minute coffee chat, phone call, anything. I think sharing experience is one of the best things, and I'm always willing. So I think there are a lot of people out there who are willing to do the same. So never be afraid, because the worst is a no, and we know that no's are terrible, but through thousands there will be one. So I think that's so great. And the final thing for me is that, yeah, through personal rebranding or branding and through evolving and changing, I think we do change a lot. But like Swati and Ritika said, that the main thing is stay true to yourself, because that will be the one thing that with you changes. And so even if you change and you stay true within, it will just be super consistent. And I think whilst you don't really think that consistency is such an important thing, that's what makes you reliable. And in a professional sense, I think that really comes out strongly, as well as experience. So definitely stay true, and then opportunities will come your way.
I love that. Stay true to you. So that's actually my next question. Is like, how do you like stay true to yourself while you're like, yeah, kind of branding yourself for your career and out there on LinkedIn, you know, this professional workspace?
For me, I would say it's been quite difficult, because especially with 2020 and everyone staying at home, with professional and home lines being very blurred, I've also noticed in the way, if I'm posting something on LinkedIn, maybe a few more emojis will pop up because that's what I do for Instagram, and then it comes across in LinkedIn, and I'm like, well, is that okay? Maybe it is, because that's more like me, and that's more kind of who I am and who I am professionally. Of course, I should stay professional no matter what, but it shouldn't have to be my only work mode. And actually, the other day I saw on LinkedIn of someone who changed their LinkedIn profile to when they were just at home in a sweater, for example, because that is how they are professionally these days. So I thought, yeah, to that extent, I mean, how much are the lines blurred and not? But yeah, so who knows?
Yeah, how do you stay true to yourself? Yeah, branding yourself. Anybody else?
Well, I think the main thing is that you need to make sure that what you do is genuine, like we've mentioned before. Like, don't do anything that seems out of tune to what you would normally do. Like, I would never post a selfie and put it on LinkedIn randomly, right? That's just not me, and then put a story behind it. For me, I've got to share something that I truly feel that is related to me or my work. I'm not a big poster on LinkedIn, but I follow a lot of people and I react and I read the discussions on it. But if you're not comfortable, for instance, posting too much, or you're not comfortable in getting into online discussions, then don't do it. Like, don't do anything that where you really have to dramatically step out of your comfort zone. Stepping out somewhat to push that boundary is okay, but don't do something that's completely against your nature.
I think it's so much dependent on someone's personality. So you cannot expect an introvert to go out and do a video, a vlog. Maybe they can do, but then it's asking them to completely 180-degree flip their personality and do something that they're not comfortable with. So like Ritika said, if you're not comfortable with posting anything, don't do it. Then find the ways that you are happy to engage and have a meaningful conversation with somebody, maybe one-on-one. Maybe you don't have to be on the chat thread. And then having your core values and principles, it cannot change. I mean, everything, how you appear, what dresses you wear, if you put makeup on or not, or if you're taking a selfie or not, everything can change. But your core beliefs and values, they will never change. So till the time you are following that path, doesn't matter in which part of the career you are and leadership level, or if you have changed your industries many times, but those things, till the time you follow your heart and your core beliefs and values, I think then that's the way for me to stay true. So I will only post if something's really calling out my heart, not just for the sake of it. So that's how I stay true, at least.
Yeah, I love that. That's how I feel as well. It's like if it's aligned with my values, and I'll share it, or uh, yeah, and go from there. So I really love this. It looks like, just checking to make sure, if you have any comments or questions, of course, feel free to leave them here. There was one more question that we had talked about before when we were prepping. Just want to look at my notes really quick. Well, I already talked to you a little bit, but like, let's say, I'm a developer and now I want to be a trainer or something, like, how do you really like funnel and like, do I delete all my experience from being a developer to, and just put like the new job that I want? Like, how would you go about that?
Oh, I would definitely use all your previous experience, whatever you can, to put it into your new job. Maybe that's what makes your skill set unique, and that's how you set yourself apart from the rest of the crowd. Because you're maybe able to communicate to different people in a different way. Look, what experiences and what you learn from life, you can't forget that, or you shouldn't forget that. Those are it makes the person that you are today. What you're trying to do is evolve yourself by learning new skill sets, but it doesn't mean that you forget old skill sets. And by things that you've learned in the past, it's only going to enhance your profile now. At least that's how I believe. Because if
Yeah, I
you're a
love that.
developer and you're going into something completely different, like personal training, for example, those are two very different skill sets. And how are you going to implement one to the other? You have to pick up parts of it. And again, if you're able to maybe communicate to someone who like picks up these functions very differently, like it could be a developer says, I sit behind my laptop I don't know, 12, 13 hours a day. Yeah, you've experienced that itself, so you know exactly what kind of back pressure that they're going to have, or how difficult it is for them to get up in the middle of the day. So you're going to implement that into your new career as a personal trainer.
What I would do, or what I have done in the past, is which career path, if I'm changing, then I have tried to do some courses, and there's so many online courses and certifications and things available for us now with the limited time as well. So there are a few months or a few weeks courses that you can kind of develop yourself. and also look at similar profile people on LinkedIn and see what have they done, how have their career been progressed, and find a mentor or somebody to chat with, either within your own social network or a professional network or through your friends. There must be somebody who would have known something about that particular. So if you want to move from being a developer to go into a trainer or facilitation trainer or a personal trainer, you need to do some kind of, you need to put on some hard work. So nothing is going to be free or given on platter. So some effort has to be put into, and a lot of jobs that exist as of today might not be relevant in future. So this is kind of a wake-up call. You need to remind yourself that, okay, if I have done this in the past, what else can I do to be relevant even in future? So that's one thing that I've followed all through.
Yes.
For me, my personal motto is that honestly, every single experience, whether it's good, bad, lukewarm, or really you thought was a waste of time, the fact that you've learned from that, the fact that you realize that it was a waste of time is a learning in itself, and you can only go onwards and upwards from there. So, for example, for me, my mum, she was a lecturer in French literature at uni, and then when we moved over to London and she was 40, she decided, actually, I've always wanted to do painting. So now she's a painter. So I guess, and it's through that retraining, and it's really discovering new passions that whether you have when you are 20, 40, or 60. And honestly, these days we live to be so long, and you graduate from uni when you're 21, and you have such long career ahead of you. To imagine that you're going to be in one career for 4 decades. There are some people who do, and that's fine. But it can potentially seem like it's such a long time. So almost take that as a challenge to be like, okay, well, I've expanded in this and I've grown in it, but now I want to try something different, and take that as like a just follow where you want to be, because like Swati said, there will be so many new jobs being created just because old ones die out, or there are new ones through technology. And really take the opportunity, and there will be so many people like us who haven't been trained and will train together. So yeah, half fake it till you make it.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, the jobs and the careers and companies and everything are going to continue to keep changing, and new jobs that we couldn't even imagine will probably be there in the next 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And yeah, like what Ritika was saying as well, is like, bringing, just bringing whatever experience you have, and like sharing that and trying to piece it together yourself, for yourself and for the people that are reading, watching you as well. Well, before our last question of the evening, I would like, to just remind the audience to leave your questions live now or on the replay, and we'll come through to answer your questions. Either somebody from Empower or even one of our speakers will answer them as well. The next show will be on October 27th, and the topic will be adapting your business in 2020. So I hope you will join us then. I want to thank all our speakers for sharing their personal experiences and providing advice on personal branding. And now for my final question of the evening is, I'd like to know, what's your final piece of advice? Tonight in the Netherlands, we got there's going to be some changes for a little while at least. What's your piece of advice for somebody that's wanting to rebrand their career or maybe business right now? Like, what would you tell them?
So I'll go first. I would say, having moved really not that far, London to Amsterdam is even less than an hour flight, but it seemed so much further. Having done that, started a whole new job and all of that, I would say doing crazy things seems crazy in a crazy year, but maybe now is the time to do it. Like everyone says, oh, it's 2020, like that's an excuse in itself, 2020, but maybe just use that and leverage it and just do something crazy because you can. Of course, not a lot of people might be in a position to do so, but now is the time. If you ever wanted to, just try it, because you don't know whether you're going to make it until you try it.
My personal advice is that say yes to any opportunity. First of all, keep an eye out and keep your heart open for the opportunities that come your way, because you never know when things come knocking in your door. and you need to be ready and prepared for it. Just like they say, oh, you need to be ready for love. So that's why it's the same for the professional life as well. Keep your heart and head or mind open for that, and then say yes, and then turn that opportunity into success, and figure it out later how you're going to do it. But say yes. So don't doubt yourself. Just do it.
I think my advice would be to persevere, don't lose hope, just continue. The journey could be tough and it could be a rough road ahead, but if you truly believe in it, keep going. But also take those breaks to evaluate, is the path that you've chosen, is that relevant to today's day and age? And because if you want to do something, as you know, Rosa and Swati keep saying, is that the world is changing, especially now we're in, corona times, and we've seen now dramatically things have changed, even the way of working. So you want to remain relevant as well. So keep your ears open, your eyes open for new kind of opportunities, and also where you should be developing your skill sets and following trends. And I don't mean just a hype, but maybe getting a little bit ahead of it. And that's how you can also, I would say, persevere through. That's how you're going to succeed.
I love it. Keep learning, keep growing, keep moving forward, even when, it seems impossible. So I love that. Well, thank you all again, and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.